Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Bienvenue. Welcome to the 18th Annual Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. My name is Kathy Gauthier, and it is an absolute pleasure to be back with you again. For those of you that were here when it was in Winnipeg a couple of years ago, I had the pleasure of being a part of this event. I began my sporting career as a softball player and loved every part of it, and it wasn't until 1992 when I won my first Canadian Women's Curling Championship that I had to make a choice. And I think there was no question what sport I was going to be better at and what I could achieve more. And I think it still hurts a little bit that no one on my softball team even tried to get me to reconsider. Curling is a huge part of my life. I have two children, Gaetan and Jock. My daughter's been in 3 consecutive Scotties provincial championships. My son has lost to semis. This year he lost a Canadian final. I'm a broadcaster with TSN. I'm a high-performance coach, and it's sort of the entire gamut, if you will, and I think that the sport has given me far more than I ever gave it. Since I last saw you, I started to date someone who told me that he was a softball player. Turns out that he was a catcher and actually caught for someone who's being inducted tonight, which was all fine until we went to our first Gold Eyes game early in the relationship, and the ball went by, and I'm like, buddy, you gotta move, pass balls. He's like, pass ball, wild pitch. So we don't talk about wild pitches and pass balls. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Brian Pallister.
Uh-oh. So, how many of you went to country school? Yeah, okay, so we had an amazing physical education program at Edwin School. It was 2 words, get outside. And tonight, as we celebrate this incredible group of people that is being acknowledged for excellence in this sport, we also celebrate a lot of the things that represents. That every recess, every noon hour, when the snow is still on the ground, when the snow is coming down, kind of thing. The dedication that allows you to come to excellence. The focus that allows you to succeed. Not video games, not computers, just get outside. That's what I think we need to remember as we deal with childhood obesity and as we deal with inactive young people. We need to remember the leaders in this room. People who focused on playing, first of all, just playing, but got really, really good at it. I've had the honor and privilege to play against and with a number of the people that are going into this hall tonight. And I'm reminded, and I was reminded earlier in the evening, of a time in 1967 when my grandfather, who loved to watch fastball, went to a game at the Prince Charles Diamond in Portsmouth Prairie, 1967, our centennial year. The Mercuries were playing the Seals. Dave Shayak, where's David? Dave Shayak was catching Norm Sayateki. Norm was making a little knuckle rise thing go up a little bit, and everybody was fouling it off. They needed somebody to chase the foul balls over where the Dairy Queen is now and Ole's Bus Depot used to be, and that was me. And I'd run across through traffic and get those foul balls and gun them back. And a little blonde-haired bat boy came out from around the screen to catch the ball, and I'd zing it across to him, and that was Larry Dewis. He had hair then. Larry Dewis has been my friend for over half a century, and that was the night we met. And I say that not to single out Larry above any other inductee tonight, but just to say that this sport is about friendships. It's about enjoying the company of each other on the playing field, enjoying the company of each other after the game, whether you just suffered a loss or a win didn't really matter. That's what this sport signifies to us, and that's what it means. It's great preparation for young people, team sports, fastball and others, but the wonderful thing it gives us as a legacy is the thrill of seeing familiar friends and making new ones in the environment of team sport. I am honored to be with you tonight. Congratulations to our inductees. Have a wonderful evening. Safe trip home. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite the president of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Murray Blight, to say a few words.
Let's give Kathy a big round of applause. Again, she's accommodating our evening tonight. Thank you, Kathy. Many of you hear Kathy, and I see Kathy and follow the curling, and does a remarkable job, and she's done so for many years with the Softball Hall of Fame. I brought some notes, but anyway, Premier Pallister, great seeing you again, Brian. Goes back memories you say about friendship, and think back to Brandon University days and the Westman Merchants. So, you know, I look around the crowd, and there's many of you that I've had the opportunity to speak to, see, play against, play for, whatever. And I say this honestly and sincerely, and I've said it before standing up here tonight. We need to continue the Softball Hall of Fame in its existence. And I was thrilled. I couldn't believe the number of nominations that we had last year, a team, individual. And I certainly encourage and entice you to do the same. Take some time, take some effort, and let's recognize. We talked about Larry Dewis, and the one idea that Larry brought up a couple years ago was developing regional. And, you know, there's a lot of players and teams out there that, by you bringing forth and the selection committee looking at for possible. Because we can up to 8 individuals and up to 3 teams, and we've got a lot more, and we hope that there is a lot more. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the inductees, I mean, this is your night to cherish. I mean, I know myself, and I was very proud, honored back in the day to be inducted in the builder category. And I mean, it's just something you just don't forget. And I wear this ring very proud, and Corey's here tonight, and I certainly encourage you to go over and see her as well. But anyway, inductees, ladies and gentlemen, and little people, our young people of today, and I mean our future. So on behalf of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, welcome to the 18th annual ceremony. It's an evening, like I said, that you are able to interact and engage conversation, reminisce some of those times, as Pally said, about chasing after a ball or hitting that home run and how the fish got bigger and what have you. What's interesting, I'm a statistic person as well. I like the old arithmetic, and if my calculation, I'm sure Les and Gordon, those will advise me. To date, there's 179 individuals and 49 teams in the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame since 2002. So again, you know, the numbers will increase, and we need your involvement. So without any hesitation, that is why many of us, and I'll be introducing the board, why we're involved, why yours truly is involved. I'd like to opportunity to introduce the current Softball Hall of Fame executive, members of the committee, and I ask you to remain standing as I introduce. Past President Al Sharp, I don't believe he's here tonight. Vice President Gord Woolley. Treasurer Les Newman. We didn't fulfill, and anybody that's commuter-minded, technology, secretary, I do my pecking and checking as I try to coordinate the meeting, but we certainly, if someone would like to take on a position, come to the fall meeting. Directors, Al McPherson, Garth German, Don Moxham. Where's Don? Okay. Bob Conabear, Adrian Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your current Manitoba Softball Board of Directors. There's two people here that were on the board. I guess, as Wayne would say, I twisted their arm, but big round of applause for the committee members, Lori and Wayne Miller. Gentleman that was on our board last year as secretary, other commitments, but still involved with our website. If you ever have an opportunity, I'd like to acknowledge Fred Spearing. Various thank yous, the selection committee in your program. And how many do you remember getting emails from Murray Blight? They'll say, God, does that man ever stop sending us mail? Well, I believe in that, and again, I'll be doing it again, so bear with, for next year. But anyway, I'd like to thank the selection committee for their due diligence, the program and auction supporters, the program today and the prizes of whatever from the various involvement, Evolution Auto Visual tonight, Lusicon Television and Shaw TV. Just as a reminder, I don't know if it's on your notes or not, I don't want to take up your story, but you can buy a DVD for $15. Get a hold of anybody from the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, and you'll be able to have a copy of the proceedings tonight. The Victorian administration and staff, excellent to work with. I can't say enough about their assistance and hospitality. Announcements, just again to encourage you, your involvement. The Virtual Museum, German, Wayne here, Garth, I should say. I always say Wayne. We were just talking about him tonight, but Garth, that's his forte, and we certainly encourage that. Website sponsors, history and leagues is something in the program you'll see. Bob and Gord, their idea, because if we don't remember some of those years of teams and leagues and whatever, we're going to forget. So I encourage you to get a hold of Bob, encourage you to get a hold of Gord, and bring us back that information. We want to comprise it and be able to put it on our system. The other thing is next year we're back here 2020, but in 2021 we're in Brandon. We signed a 3-year contract with the Victorian. So we're thinking of a theme, and I'm just going to throw out something. Those days and past, how many of you can maybe put on your favorite uniform top? I just throw that. Hasn't been a lot of discussion about it, but we're going to be thinking of a theme. So our annual meeting is September the 12th, 7 p.m. at the Victoria Inn here. We encourage you, anybody, for participating. And last but not least, as Kathy said, keep it short. Congratulations to the inductees and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
I saw some fear on people's faces about putting their shirts on. So in your program on page 6, you'll find a complete list of all the previous Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame individuals and team inductees. But those in the room who have been previously inducted, would you please stand? Well done. Well done. Since our last induction dinner, we have lost several members of our softball community, and I ask you now to join me in a moment of silence as we remember them. Thank you. The board would like to take this opportunity to extend their gratitude.
I actually started playing ball a little bit before the 1963. I started out in a small town in Saskatchewan called Gainsborough. It had about 350 people, and it has now about 300. But anyway, Back in those days, it was a complete family affair. Every Sunday, there was a ball tournament somewhere, and the whole town would shut down, and the farmers would go and mow the pasture, and that's where we played. Somebody would come out with some grain sacks and fill them partially full of sand, walk off a certain distance, throw them down. The only gopher holes they ever filled were the ones that were large enough where the fastball actually might fall in them and go down. So that's where we sort of learned to play the game. And back in those days as well, we played for big money. And it was quite incredible. It was $5 a win, and you got $10 for the final if you made it that far. Our name was the Gainsborough Angels. Gainsborough we were, Angels we were not. But anyway, from there I moved to Brandon to attend university, and the first team I played for in Manitoba was the Lauder Park Lanes. I believe they have been nominated as well for future induction, hopefully, in the Manitoba Fastball Hall of Fame. And then I played for a number of different teams over the years. We were very successful, winning a number of championships and so on. My focus was not so much on my accomplishments as it was on me playing for the team and how I could help the team win. But in reviewing the information for my nomination, it certainly brought up some fond memories. And some of those memories I might share with you tonight. Of course, can't share them all, but we don't have that much time. But I will share a few of them. But when I mentioned it was a family affair, my wife Eileen, last night we were having a few toddies and sort of reminiscing, and she mentioned something to me. She said, "I don't know if you remember the time that we talked about the day that we should get married." And I said, "Well, no, I really don't." And she said, I brought all the information in terms of the minister, the churches, the time of the day, and all of the other things that we would need to get married." And she said, "What you brought was your ball schedule." So she does remind me of that once in a while, but only in jest. But we did find one day where I was not playing ball on one weekend, and that is the day that we got married. So it's been just fantastic since then. But anyway, just going on a little bit further, when I reached 40, something happened to me that sort of was the best time of my life in terms of fastball. I was asked to play for the Manitoba Masters, which was a team of sort of people from all across the province to represent the province. And some of these guys, and we have some of them sitting up here right now, some of these guys were the top pitchers in the world and some of the top ball players, and there was the Rollies and the Charlies and the Dave Shiaks and the Larry Dewises and all of these guys. They were just tremendous ball players. And we were getting up there. I think our name was the Skinners. Well, the Skinners was not maybe that quite appropriate for us at that time. Some of us, had kind of pounded it up a bit. But anyway, we went one time to Red Lake, and it was a big tournament. It was a big money tournament. It was actually, I think, $10,000. And a few of us were warming up before the game, and somebody threw the ball to me, and I think I missed it. And it rolled over towards the other team's bench. And I went over to get it, and I saw all these guys, these young guys, muscle bound and everything, and they were sort of stretching and all this. And I looked over at our bench, and guys were stretching too. Some of them were bent over putting on tensor bandages. Some of them, were putting on A1 rub on each shoulder. And I overheard one of the guys on the Red Lake team say, "Look at those old guys over there. It sure won't take us long to finish them off." Well, I sort of couldn't wait to get back to talk to the guys about this because I figured that they would want to know. And it was quite interesting because what happened with us back in those days, it still happens. If you put on a glove, it's like you sort of go back to your 20s. And so I went over and told them that, and they put on their gloves, and we went out and played. And the other team was partially correct. It didn't take long. It was 17-0 for us after 3 innings, and they called the game because of the 10 run-up rule, and we walked away with the $10,000. So those were the kind of fun things, and we all became very good friends and still are. And it was so nice to see everybody here today. And I knew that my ball career was starting to come to an end last year. My son, Jeremy, out in Calgary, he was coaching a young hardball team. So he phoned one day and he said, "Are you coming out to Calgary?" And we said, "Yes, we are." He said, "I wonder," he said, "if you could help me coach and teach the kids some of the things that you know." And I said, "Oh, sure." So anyway, I took my glove and dusted it all off, it just took a while. And anyway, we're out there and we're playing catch with all these little kids, and I was teaching them how to pick up ground balls. And then the next thing he said was, "Well, let's do some infield hitting, infield practice." So he asked me if I would go to third base, because that's where I played most of my career. So I went over to third base and he started hitting balls. Well, he hit one towards me, but it was quite a ways away. But it was just sort of automatic instinct that I took off after this ball. I dived for it. I missed it. I pulled my shoulder. I bruised my elbow, and I pulled all the muscles in the back of both legs. So I was off for quite a while doing nothing. So this year he phoned and he said, "Are you coming back out?" And I said, "Yes, we are." And he says, "Well," he says, "I'm an assistant coach this year, but," he said, "it might be better if you don't bring your glove." So I think my ball career is probably over at this point. But once again, it has been such a, I don't know how to describe it. I was inducted once before with the Manitoba Masters team in 2013, and these guys were just absolutely incredible. And I hope that I am remembered as a person who played the game hard and who loved every minute of it. So thank you very much for this beautiful honor.
Our second athlete inducted tonight is Michael Blackburn. Michael played in the Portage Fastball League from 1989 to 1991 and moved on to play with Dakota Plains through to 1995 before moving to play with Sioux Valley Dakotas, who he played with in the International Softball Congress World Championships in Kimberley, Wisconsin in 1998. Michael competed in 5 Canadian Native Senior Men's National Championships with the BC Arrows in Vermeer Nightmares, that's a good name, and was a member of the West Bank Cardinals that won the Canadian Native Senior Men's Championships in 2016. Michael's fastball career has taken him across the continent, and he says he is best known as the kid from Manitoba that played for the California Cuties. The California Cuties were a novelty softball team that has a long history of entertaining softball fans and enthusiasts across North America. Michael was scouted and recruited because of his speed, his ability, and his attitude. While playing 100-plus games a year through every U.S. state and Canadian province, he was able to develop his skills and brought him to a level that have made him a Hall of Fame candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Michael Blackburn into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame in the athlete category.
Oh, glad you get sick.
Michael.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna get sick.
Just
Okay,
relax.
guys.
Just relax.
Holy Moses. Oh, I'm not sure what to say here. I'm gonna get sick, you guys. Last time I talked in front of this many people was in court. Anyways, I just want to first, before I say anything, is just pay a special recognition to Mother's Day tomorrow. To all the moms. I lost my mom last September, and just life hasn't been the same without her. So to all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. I'm still gonna get sick, holy Moses. God, I sit here in front of you guys and I'm not sure what to say. Oh, it does. Oh, I guess I'm the next Freddie Mercury here. Put that back in. How did you get it out, Daryl? I guess he's been married longer. No, take it out. Don't put it in. Oh, he fell into that one, didn't he? Holy Moses, you guys.
Back out.
Wow. And Rollie, I'm sitting here looking at this guy struck me out 3 times. I think he hit me on the knee one time. I still have a bruise from there. Oh, like I said, guys, it really is an honor. Sitting here in front of you, and I'm probably the only person going to be in the Manitoba Hall of Fame that doesn't have stats. Not one, but I look good in a dress. Hey, Larry? Oh, I got rocket. Hey, and I just remember, looking in the crowd here and seeing some of my friends there, like Graham Pallister, took me to PCI a couple times, and I was back catching for him, and still trying to throw that drop ball. Larry Dewis, fastest man that couldn't hit a single. He looked good with hair. Guys, if you haven't never seen Larry Dewis with hair, he looked good. Anyway, so I got some real good people here. Got my sister, my nephew, Donnie, Marcel. Like, guys, I'm not sure. I'm at UBC doing my PhD, and for a change, I'm not sure what to say. Just very humbling. I'm very honored. And if I'm going to share one story, it's when I was in Tallahassee playing cutie ball, and I was playing first base, and this lady says to me, I couldn't see her in the crowd, and she goes, "Oh, what a terrible swing! Are you from McGregor?" And I was like, "What?" I kind of looking, and she goes, "I've seen better swingers than Poplar Point." And I was like, "What?" And I kept looking, and then after the crowd, it was, I'm not sure, most of you guys won't know who they are, but Willie, Gail, and Bill Senior Kitchings, it was their grandma. She was heckling me in Florida. I thought, holy Moses. And I guess the one thing that I learned from playing cutie ball is I'd never been to Hawaii, but I did get to travel all 49 states, and I got to meet a lot of people of different colors, creeds, nations, personalities, and the love for fastball or softball was, it just never ended. I mean, guys, when they would, I don't want to say this so loud, but when they'd rip my dress off and chase me, it was fun. Guys, like I said, I'm not sure what to say. I'm very humbled, and to my fellow inductees, as I am a little younger, a little lighter, but guys, I just don't know what to say, but thank you, and happy Mother's Day. I love you, Mom and Dad. I'm not sure what to say. I don't want to get sick. So.
And we're glad you didn't. Thank you, Michael.
No, I'm good now.
Our next inductee in the athlete category is Rollie Boucher. Okay. Crowd favorite, look at you. So sit down, I've got stuff to say. Rollie Boucher was a dominant force on the Manitoba fastball scene in the 1970s and 1980s. He pitched in provincial championships at the C level, B level, and finally A level in his rise to the top of the softball hierarchy. Rollie pitched for the Winnipeg Colonels and then the Winnipeg Internationals in the Western Canadian Fastball League, which featured the premier fastball players in Canada. He was a consummate teammate that was always willing to throw batting practice for hours so that his teammates could improve their skills by facing one of Manitoba's top pitchers. Rollie was honored several times by being selected as top pitcher or MVP. He was the Winnipeg Men's Fastball League MVP in 1975, and in 1977 was the MVP at the Masters Western Canadian Championships in 1984, where his team won the gold medal. Rollie was the top pitcher in 1986 at the Masters Western Canadian Championships, where he once again led his Manitoba team to a gold medal finish. Much can be said about this big man with the bigger heart, but as one of his teammates wrote, Rollie showed us all how to include family in the softball experience to the betterment of the team and the game we all love so much. Please welcome into the athlete category, Rollie Boucher.
They asked who would want to present this to you, so I
And you did. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Well, now that Daryl took my speech away, and all I have to do is say thanks, right? The ball players that are around here right now that I played with and against, I mean, we were a family. Brian, Frederick, and Daryl. I got all the names here, but I mean, we were a great family, and that'll never be taken away from us at all. I'd like to thank my cousin Bob. He's the one that got me started in this wonderful game of fastball. And I'd like to thank the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame for this great honor. And the players that I played with and against, such great players, like Bobby T, Bobby Turner, Whitey, Gus, Grant Skinner, Ralph Fens, Dave Shayak, John Drysick, Bernie Cope, my first good catcher, and Cliff Bishop, Greg Bouchard, Brian Pallister, Garth German, Kenny Dick, PK Peter Clausen, Kim Brock, and so many more great players. And, of course, I'd like to thank the legend himself, which is being inducted to Charlie Brown.
I'm going to steal that off you if you don't mind, eh?
Just took my pants.
I think I'm still going to get sick.
I'd like to thank my wife and family too. They were behind me all the way. I remember going to tournaments and just packing the kids up and going every weekend, and she'd be right there. She even got me kicked out one time. Kenny Altrick was she didn't like what he called. I looked at him sideways and he kicked me out. She stayed in crop, and I had to wait for her outside. Never forgive her. So I'd like to thank my wife, my daughter Kim and her husband, and the grandkids, Jamie and Jeremy, and Jeremy's girlfriend, Ashley, and my son, Keith, with Connor and Brody. There were, well, I think, Brian, you might have a little story with Keith, right? Out in Regina. So, anyways, thank you very much for all the players. Thank you.
If I could ask the Bison Blondes team to make their way to the front to the right. Our next inductee is in the all-around category, and that is Charlie Brown. How about her? Charlie Brown began his long and successful fastball career in 1956. After watching a windmill pitcher give his teammates a difficult time at the plate while playing in the Prairie Distributors Fastball League, he decided to try his hand at pitching. Nearly 30 years later, Charlie was still winning important games well beyond the city or provincial leagues where he started. Charlie was a mainstay and the ace pitcher of most of his teams through the 60s, playing with Ashdowns, Concord Hotel, Keywell Seals, and later St. Anne's Saints. He began pitching at the Senior A level in 1965 and continued to take the mound in Senior A or Senior B competition until 1983, when he, along with several other future Hall of Famers, formed the first Manitoba Masters fastball team. 1984 saw Charlie putting on his coaching hat as he shared his prestigious knowledge of the game with young Sir John Franklin community players who were just beginning their softball careers. His team won the provincial midget crown in 1984 and 1985 and represented Manitoba at national competitions. Through all the successes, triumphs, and accolades, Charlie Brown remained humble and respectful of and to anyone involved in the game of softball. He pitched, batted, raised money, served on executive boards, coached, umpired, and loved everything to do with the game that he cherished. Please welcome into the all-around category tonight, Charlie Brown.
I think when I first started teaching that Les was in that school, but you were in grade 6 then? Oh, good. I thought you were in grade 1 then. Okay. I'd like to start, if I may, by thanking the Manitoba Softball Association, and we've heard from Murray Blight and, of course, Les Newman, for the great work that they do in keeping softball memories alive. That's really important to old people like me. You may wonder why I'm standing up here with my full suit on, sweating, and not taking the jacket off. Well, I was told, Les told me actually, that what I should do when I get up here was to thank anybody who made me look good. So I'm going to start with my 12-year-old granddaughter, because she not only insisted that I get a new suit for this occasion, but she picked it for me. So receiving an honor like this is humbling, and Ronnie Taves, you're right, it's terrifying being up here in front of all these people. But when one considers the incredibly talented group, not only that I'm joining today, but the predecessors, it's just an amazing feeling to be here. It's especially gratifying for me to be inducted at the same time with my good friend and teammate, Rollie Boucher. And I should add to that, so many elite fastball players who then switched to Slo-Pitch and showed all of their talent and are now being awarded Softball Hall of Fame for Slo-Pitch. I think that's wonderful. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my son David for initiating the nomination process, and my good friends Ron Westcott and Lauren Sinishin out there for embellishing my career a little bit in their letters to the MSA on my behalf. I really appreciate that. I want to say too, because I know I'll never get up here again, but I'm not the first in my extended family to have this kind of an honor. When I look back at my youth, I think it was said that I didn't do very much in the way of sports as a youth. But the closest I ever came to fastball was several games of catch with an elder cousin of mine, and her name was Ruth Middleton. I don't know how many of you might know that name, but those games didn't last too long because she threw the ball so hard that I missed it most of the time, and I had to run a long ways to go and get it. But I was so pleased. I didn't know that she would soon after that move to the United States and become a member of what has now been described as a league of their own. And she played in, I know she played in Chicago and several other places, and was the first in our extended family to be into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. So I did get a little bit of a start chasing balls, and that was about that. Other than that, I didn't know that fastball existed until I got my job my first job in the sporting goods sections of Ashdown's Hardware, and I had to play my first games there. And my beginning pitching was mentioned, and frankly, it was really, really bad. I persuaded a family friend who knew even less than I did about fastball to catch practice for me. And his only reward was bruised knees and exercise chasing the ball that I threw wild pitches. You would know him. He was a friend named Wilson. He's no longer with us, but I will always be grateful that he gave me my start. However, I am going to thank a lot of people. Sorry, but pitchers don't really make it unless they have really good catchers, and there's a couple of guys especially that I'm extremely grateful for in my fastball career. One is Bob Turner, who also caught some of the other pitchers here. Bob was one who demanded your best, and it happened fairly frequently that if I didn't throw the pitch right, he would come out to the mound and slap me on the head with his mitt. But he read batters so well, and he turned me, I guess, from a run-of-the-mill pitcher into one who could at least compete with the best and even win a couple of provincial titles and compete in 2 Canadian championships. And then in later years, there was another catcher who came along. I want to extend thanks to Lawrence Senishin for helping me to play a role in the success of our Globe Promotions team, which won some provincials, and also in the Masters team. So Bob Turner and Lawrence Senishin, thank you both so much. All of the things that have been mentioned were incredible highlights for me, but I really want to spend a few moments talking about the team that I was privileged to coach. In 1984, I was honored to be chosen to coach the Sir John Franklin Midget Boys team. My son David was a player on that team. And for the provincial competition, we formed a kind of a unique coalition with players from Boucher, of all places, who were willing to travel to Winnipeg often 2 or 3 times a week to take part. And I was assisted in that job by Gabe Boucher, who couldn't be here tonight, and a friend, Dennis Violet from Sir John. But that team competed in 4 provincial competitions, as has been said, and going from coast to coast for Canadian championships with those guys was really terrific for me. And during those same years, again, has been said, we were competing in the Masters and running all over the country too, to North Battleford, Whitehorse, Calgary, and so on. And these were wonderful years, but very hectic years. Then I was persuaded after several years of umpiring to play Slo-Pitch, and the guys that got me into that, Henry Rosentreader and Gordie Reed, are both here tonight, and I want to thank them as well. And in terms of Slo-Pitch, a lot of you know me from the years back as a fastball player, although the word fast didn't really come into it too very much. But I was able to take part in an exhibition game against the Winnipeg Lightning team that Bob Turner had formed, a young girls team. And that was the first Slo-Pitch time that I ever got to pitch in that game in Slo-Pitch, and so far the only time. But I went over to Bobby Turner and asked him for advice. And he says, "Charlie, you'll be fine. You've been playing Slo-Pitch all your life." Okay, now comes the hard part, because I come from a very emotional family. But, you know, when you live and play this long, there are so many people that you want to try to thank who contributed to getting me here tonight, including all of my family, who supported me so well through the years. I really want to especially thank my wife, Robbie, if I can get through this, and she's here tonight. In all the hectic time, in all the hectic times mentioned earlier, and they were hectic, running all over the country with fastball and both playing and coaching. During that time, we also raised 5 wonderful children. I made the mistake of just looking over at them, and they're going to make me cry. No, but we raised 5 wonderful children, and almost all of the credit for that goes to my wife, Robbie. I thank her for always being there for me. My wife lost her vision a few years ago, and she's currently confined to a wheelchair. But as always, she's here to support me. I know it's a kind of a hackneyed phrase, but Robbie, you're the wind beneath my wings.
Absolutely.
I want to tell you one quick personal story about my wife, if you don't mind taking the time to do that, because this was very important to me and is going to be soon this year. I was almost, all the time that I played, I was almost always the oldest guy on the team. It was very rare that I wasn't. So at one year-end party in our rec room, and this was before I was even old enough to play in the Masters, Robbie dressed up as a very feeble old man in one of my uniforms. She came down into the rec room and delighted the assembled players and their wives by doing a 15-minute skit that she called Here's Charlie at 80. Yeah, exactly. So I want to tell you, Robbie, now that I'm 80, I just signed up with the Charleswood Slo-Pitch League, and they promised me that I can pitch at least one game, just to make that prediction come true. And I'll wind this up. I'm actually pleased to confess that playing fastball gave me an opportunity to work towards one of my prime objectives in life. Growing up with my name was not easy. I gotta tell you that. Mike, it still isn't sometimes. My completion of high school coincided exactly with the 1958 debut of the Charlie Brown song by the Coasters. Prior to that, and even after that, I had to contend with teasing about the Peanuts comic strip, where, of course, Charlie Brown appears most often as a pitcher being undressed by a line drive, which I admit did happen the odd time. But while lovable, he was always a loser, and I determined early on that my prime objective in life would be to prove that Charlie Brown, the lovable loser, could sometimes be Charlie Brown, the lovable winner. And tonight, I feel like I've achieved that objective. Thank you.
Boy, can I get off the stage? I'm going to get sick.
No, sit down. While we start this, if I could get the St. James Canadians team to make their way to the front as well. We now begin to induct our first of two teams in this half, the Bison Blondes. The Bison, sure. The Bison Blondes senior women's slow-pitch team played locally in the Winnipeg Women's and Waverley Slow-Pitch Leagues, as well as being a women's team competing in the John Bloomberg Co-ed League. This team won silver in 2002 and gold in 2003 at the Western Canadian Slow-Pitch Championships. In 2004, they won a bronze medal at the Canadian Championship and the gold medal at SPN Slow-Pitch Nationals. In 2005, they won gold at the Canadian Slow-Pitch Championships and at the SPN Slow-Pitch Nationals. In 2006, they added one more Canadian Slow-Pitch Championship gold medal before finishing in 2007 with a silver medal finish at the Canadian Slow-Pitch Nationals. That is quite the run. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Bison Blondes into the Softball Hall of Fame in the team category. Terry Tennellier will represent the team in speaking, but here are the individuals. Claire Alford. Karina Kiki Barthel. Shelley Bone. Randine Kayer. Heather Dezan. Lisa Wise Haley. Carolyn Sparky Hodgers. Aaron LeMay. Sandy Newsham Maskew. Carol McCabe. I played with you. Yeah, she didn't try to get me to stay behind either. Darcy Darla Mosden.
Congratulations.
Amber Paulishan.
Congratulations.
Tracy Penner. Carly Tipper Reimer. Heather Newsham Ruby. Christine Smilsky. Terry Tonelli, I definitely played with you. Pam Brewster Tweedy. Lynn Crovigier. Tressa L.A. Wilcott. And Sherry Wood. Now, not here this evening, but we want to shout out Mandy Duresh was a part of the team, Jennifer Chernetsky Normando, Monica Hildebrand Simmons, and Sherry Smoke. Terry, if you'd like to come and represent the team.
What does a girl do after she plays fastball? Slow pitch, obviously. If you're lucky enough to throw like a girl, that saying I think has a different meaning now. And those of you out there that play and have teammates and us, I think, how about a hand if you think that throwing like a girl is a pretty darn good thing? Bison Blondes have players that have played or also played together from anywhere from 10 years to 38 years. I'm somewhere in the middle. Well, no. We used to do wiki initiations and that, so I guess they're getting back at me. So now the old vet is getting having to do the speech. So all good. But they do say that some of your best friends are from high school days. And as much as I agree with that to some extent, I have to say for myself, and I think for some of us, our best friends are from our ball team. And one of the reasons, I think one of the reasons is softball, baseball, fastball, slow pitch. You have a role to play, and you support each other in that role on the field, and sometimes you only get in a game one chance, two chances. Not like hockey and soccer and other sports where you might make a mistake but then turn around and do 10 good things and it's forgotten. So because of that aspect of the sport, I think is what really bonds us together, whether we make a great play or if we flub up once in a while and we support each other. And I think that builds the bond in this sport. And with this team for sure, and I'm sure you guys out there who, you know, it's been said over and over again that is sort of the reason that we played together for so long and are lifelong friends. We played, some of us have come and gone on the team, and there's people that have played earlier on different teams, but we've been together. But we also had some strong leadership behind us in all of our nationals for over a number of years. And it did start at one point with Billy Finch, who's here tonight, and he was a great leader on our team. He coached us for a number of years, and I think just a big hand for Billy when he was looking after some of us. And without asking him about any stories, he knows we can be a little bit of a handful. I think the word shenanigans comes up. So we also had, if you know Ed Kulik, who he's not here tonight, but also carried on after Bill. And then we had Randine, who's here as a player coach, who took over at the end. And Randine, she made us laugh. She made some of us cry. But she made the decisions on the field and off the field that made us win Canadian championships. And for that, we thank her, and I think a big hand to her for leading us in all those championships. So I just want to say that we are happy that our young ones have finally turned 35. So we can this summer go to the SPN over 35s to be together as the old gals and the young girls who have finally come up to allow us to play together in a master's style of game before some of us end up retiring from the game. So we're really, really looking forward to that. And Randine, are you coming up? Oh, there you are. I will now give you Randine, our coach, and
Terry will stay with me. I'm holding on to her, so she'll stay. We'd like to thank Softball Manitoba Hall of Fame for recognizing the achievements of our team. what we were very fortunate, our team came together of good fortune, good friends, and a lot of great talent. And not all teams get to say that. Many of these ladies are still playing ball together today. They're playing on teams, they're traveling together. Lynn Vijay represented herself with Team Canada last year in Slo-Pitch. So it's a game that they've come together, and every one of these ladies has put time and energy and dedication into playing. The amount of days that we were playing ball together for those 7 years, travel tournaments, weekly league and practices, it was an incredible amount of dedication, and we were very fortunate to be playing with our friends. And you see that within them. Of the 25 girls on our team, 23 of us are here tonight. And that's not true for all groups. So this was a very successful team, but a very strong bond and very strong friendships were made. So congratulations to all of our fellow inductees tonight. Special congratulations to Sandy Newsham, Leanne Papineau, Christy Kapner. They're double inductees tonight, and we've been fortunate to play with them at different times. And the ladies in the room tonight, congratulations to all of you. We've all done well for softball. Thank you.
And our final inductee for this first half and another team, the St. James Canadians. In 2004, the St. James 55-plus senior slow-pitch team split into two teams so that they could compete in both the 65-plus and the 55-plus categories. The 55-plus team became Canadians and went on to win the provincial championship for 7 consecutive years. The Canadians roster featured several male and female ball players that had retired from playing competitive fast-pitch softball and would soon become the most dominant mixed slow-pitch team at the 55-plus level. As well as winning the provincial championships each year, the team competed in other competitions, such as the 55-plus Manitoba Senior Games, which they won in 2005, 2006, and 2007. They also were the winners of the 55-plus World Qualifier Tournament in Walker, Minnesota in 2006, and were crowned 55-plus Polar Bear Classic champions in 2007. In 2008, as well as winning the MSA Provincial Championships, they also captured the SPN Provincial Championship 55. All right, so we begin our second half with an induction in the all-around category of Frankie Cochlan. Frankie Little Cochlan was born in Portage-la-Prairie and began to play organized softball at the age of 12 in her hometown of Poplar Point. At 16 years of age, Frankie was recruited to play for CUAC Blues in the Winnipeg Senior Girls Softball League, and 1 year later, in 1965, Frankie pitched in the final game of the Canadian Senior Women's Championships, helping her Manitoba team win the gold medal. For the next 10 years, she pitched for the CUAC Blues and represented the province at the national competition many times. Frankie also attended and pitched for the Bemidji State College from 1966 to 1970 before returning to Manitoba to finish each ball season with CUAC Blues. In 1992, Frankie was inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame as a member of the 1965 CUAC team. She was also inducted into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame in 2002 for being a part of that same team. In 1993, Frankie passed away at the age of 39. Tonight we honor Frankie and induct her into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame in the all-around category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Frankie's son, Brody, as he accepts the award on behalf of his mother.
Good evening. I'd like to say how great of an honor it is to be involved in this induction tonight on behalf of my mom. She grew up playing baseball in the small town of Poplar Point, where she learned and was coached by her dad, George Little, and all of Little Bend, where they were very influential in her ball career. From there, she was recruited by the CUAC Blues, where they were able to capture a championship where she was able to pitch in the final game. The Blues were down 4-0 in the third inning, and she was brought in relief and ended up pitching shutout ball the rest of the game, and they were able to win 8-4 to capture the championship. She was later in life. She was very active in the community of Eli and coaching my brother's team, and also serving as the president of the Cartier Minor Ball Association, and putting on numerous ball clinics in and around the area. And of course, there was the times, endless hours spent in the backyard hitting grounders and pop flies to my brother and myself. I remember on a few occasions we'd be getting dark out, and we would say, it's getting kind of dark out. It's kind of tough to see the ball, and you just hear a crack of the bat, and she'd just say a couple more. So I'm not going to be as long as these other guys, but I'd just like to say thanks to all the friends and family that were able to come out tonight and show their support. Really appreciate it. Also to Murray Blight and Les Newman for all the hard work they put into this event. And to all the other inductees, congratulations. To everyone else, thank you and have a great night.
Our final inductee in the all-around category tonight is Larry Dewis. Larry Dewis played ball locally on teams in Portage-la-Prairie until 1974, when he moved to Winnipeg and joined the Junior Colonels Fastball Club and was honored to be named as captain of the inaugural team. He went on to play with the Winnipeg Colonels in the Western Major Fastball League, which was touted as the highest level of competitive fast-pitch softball in Canada. In this prestigious league, Larry was able to earn all-star recognition, as well as being recognized by teammates and competitors alike for his sportsmanship. He won several provincial and league all-star awards and continued to be a dynamic player and leader as his career continued from junior to senior to masters to Slo-Pitch levels of play. In 1986, after helping to form a senior A ball team in Portage that boasted many hometown players, Larry was able to lead the Portage Diamonds to a provincial championship by upsetting the heavily favored Winnipeg Internationals in the provincial championship. Larry remains involved in anything that has to do with promoting softball in his hometown and province. He played an integral part in the planning and construction of the Republic of Manitoba Park softball facility in Portage-la-Prairie, and he continues to encourage and support tournaments at this first-class facility. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry Dewis into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame in the all-around category. I have one email to read for you, and it comes from Alvin White from Kalamazoo, Michigan. One of my first memories of Larry Dewis was in the early 1960s when he was 8 years old and a bat boy for his father's Fastpitch team in Portage-la-Prairie, Peter Dewis. His nickname was Pee-wee, and his mother Fern attended the games to keep an eye on him, actually to keep him out of the beer cooler. I was fortunate enough and had the pleasure of playing baseball, Little League and Junior Ball, Junior Hockey, and Fastpitch with Larry. His contribution, commitment, and effort he displayed on every team he's played on was 110%. You couldn't ask for a better teammate, and I'm so pleased that he's being recognized by his peers tonight. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend, but congratulations, Larry, on a job well done.
Larry, I got a couple of good weights for you if you need.
Thank you, Kathy, for the generous introduction. So many thank yous, starting with the Hall of Fame people. Pretty sure it was Kent Morgan and June Graham's brainchild nearly 2 decades ago. If you volunteered your time on the Board of Directors or Selection Committee over the past 18 years, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. You people are preserving the history of softball in our province. Good on you. Softball is a sport that is lifelike. You have to be disciplined. It's all about teamwork, and it can have an impact on our lives. I know it did mine and that of our family. No matter what a person's credentials are, you don't get on the stage without someone initiating the process. So to Dave Shayak and Ferdy Nelson, thanks for doing that for me. The respect is mutual. After the names of the inductees were released, I received several emails and calls. So thoughtful, I appreciated each and every one of those. And to all you people for being here, the organizers rely on this banquet to feed the Hall of Fame and Museum. So thanks for making the time. Especially my family, friends, and teammates, both past and present. If you take anything away from what I have to say here, believe me when I say to these people that requested to be seated near the Dewis party, I'm truly grateful. The Dewises are blessed with great people and a lot of characters in our lives, and we don't take that for granted. As my cousin Bruce says, you're not regular people. To my wife of 40 years, Bev, you keep telling me you deserve a medal, and I can't argue that because I did marry well. You always made it easy for me to go to the ballpark. I think it's because you enjoyed it nearly as much as I did. Other than our honeymoon, it took us till our late 30s before we actually went on a vacation that didn't have a ball tournament attached to it. To our daughter Kelsey, who owns a health and wellness business in Vancouver, thanks for playing my bluff when I said, you don't need to come all this way. You grew up around ball diamonds, hockey rinks, and curly clubs, so it's fitting you are here today. Kelsey once called me an anomaly, so I asked her to explain what the hell that meant. And I thought about it and concluded she could be right. It certainly holds true in my ball days. I've been presented a couple sportsmanship awards, and I've been tossed several times, so you never knew what to expect. Too many unusual stories, not enough time. To our firstborn Jay, you've given your mother and I lots of enjoyment watching you play. One memory I have right from the get-go was when we were 4 at a tournament in Grand Forks. I was making up the lineup for the Portage Diamonds, and I looked up briefly from the scorebook to see Dean Moxham, Gary Single, and Stan Radomski playing pepper with my little boy. That was a special moment for me, as that is exactly how I grew up as bat boy for my dad's team. To my favorite daughter-in-law and mother of our 2 grandchildren, Jeline, you bring fun into our lives. Not only did you bring the much-needed height gene to our family, you're a voice of reason, and we all look up to you for more reasons than one, without a doubt. If you remember Charlie Krupp Stadium in the late 70s, you'll remember my Kiwi brother, Jimmy Fowler. Jim and Val Fowler are with us tonight, all the way from Auckland, New Zealand. Jimmy pitched for... Thank you. Jimmy pitched for the Winnipeg Colonels in the prestigious Western Major Fastball League. Get this, in his first season he had a .79 ERA as a 23-year-old, so he's obviously an all-star, who also pitched for the New Zealand national team. He was a great teammate and a better friend who appreciates how the friendly Manitobans treated him in 78 and 79. Jim and Val, please stand up so we can give you the royal welcome. I'm going to be in trouble for that, aren't I? Thanks, Mike. Part of the enjoyment in this Hall of Fame process has been looking back at the journey ball has taken me on and all the people that have been instrumental in the opportunities I received along the way. From being born into a fastball family, Pete, Fern, Lynn, and Scott, to being bat boy on the Seals, which was huge, those guys treated me so well, to graduating to becoming a player with the Clubbers, which taught me confidence breeds success, to Al Mayer's Junior Colonels, to Harry Buchert and Art Penner's Winnipeg Colonels, which was the big leagues of fastball for me for 5 years, to Wayne Richardson's Portage Dodgers. The opportunities were so timely, like me being a fastball player was meant to be. It took my experience managing the 86 Portage Diamonds to make me realize what you organizers out there did for us players. It was definitely time-consuming, which I once took for granted, I now understand and appreciate. I took a sabbatical from competitive ball, partially due to an ACL tear, until Ron Westcott called me when I became eligible for Masters Fastball. I got to meet a lot of new people with the Manitoba Masters, or Toledo Mudhens, or Portage Masters. I think Bruce Belton summed it up best in Saskatoon when he turned to me and said, "You know, I'd pay people just to get this chance to play this caliber of ball, fastball, every season." And he is right. Masters ball was a blast. All in all, I was fortunate enough to represent our province over a dozen times at either Nationals, Westerns, NAFA, or ISC. In order to succeed, we all know a team needs solid pitchers and catchers. Those two positions are far more demanding than the rest. I played with a lot of good ones and some of the very best. Us shortstops get to make all sorts of fancy plays, but it's you guys that are in the trenches every pitch. So I thank you guys for toughing it out. At the same time as the Masters, the Portage Phillies were playing in the Winnipeg Fastball League. It made me so happy to have a fastball team still going in our hometown. Mark Verwey and Dale Lascour did a lot of keeping this program alive. I helped out occasionally, but my enjoyment came mostly as a spectator. Naturally, my focus would be on the play of our son Jay and my brother Scott. I got to live every play as if I was on the field, minus the scraped knees and elbows. I've got to say, you two guys did our family proud, primarily because your compete level was what your father or grandfather Pete would expect, and your sportsmanship was what your mother-grandmother Fern would want. These pesky Phillies were a joy to watch because they would overachieve at times, which was fun to experience. Slo-Pitch became part of my life when I turned 50. Turns out I played 10 years plus for the Buckleys in the Liniment League. That's the longest I've played for any team. The ageless Herman Weber stirred the drink, but each and every one of these guys would sacrifice their bodies to make a play. We had to, or we'd be crucified around the cooler. But it was fun competing with these guys because we were all on the same page. If I narrowed it down to one player I identify most with in fastball, it would be my sidekick, Brian Pallister. Pretty sure it was me that influenced him into getting into politics. He was so envious of the ink I was getting as a ball player that he had to turn to politics to finally get his own name in the paper. Pally and I weren't always on the same team, but we were after the same thing, to do our best and play the top level of competition. We spent a lot of time together, and more than anything, I appreciate your friendship and the laughter you brought on. Several times you've had me laughing so hard that I wasn't sure where my next breath was coming from. So thanks for tickling that funny bone, because I can be too serious at times. Another funny guy and real character is Arnold Asham. When I was playing Colonel Ball, the schedule was such that you needed a job that would accommodate the travel. Arnold provided me with that for 5 years. So thanks, Spike. You always chased your dreams, and you made it possible for me to chase mine. I was nominated in the all-around category primarily because of my involvement with the Portage Diamonds, the local draft fastball league, the ad hoc committee that helped develop the lighted diamond at Republic Park in Portage, the annual Progress for Portage fastball tournament that Tom Hyde suggested I get going, as well as the 2 Westerns we hosted, and more recently the Kiwi Cup for Softball Manitoba. Over the years, I was taking so many ball calls at work that my employer installed an extra phone line. All this time, I was fortunate to be surrounded by a tremendous group of people who shared the passion of fast-pitch softball. Too many names to mention, but you all know who you are. This definitely isn't an award I receive alone. I've learned from you, been inspired by many of you, and I am pleased in what we have accomplished together. In closing, when I walk into any ballpark, this warm feeling comes over me like this is where I belong. I've been blessed with many everlasting friendships through this sport, and I've got to say, thanks for the memories.
Can I take this seat?
Take that, yeah. I want to
Thanks,
Thank you. Well done.
Our next inductee and the final athlete of the night is Leanne Scott Papineau. From Leanne's first years in 1992 as a 14-year-old midget player to her retirement from competitive senior fastball in 2003, she was able to earn several individual awards as well as being a member of many gold and silver medal winning teams at the Western Canadian Championships or Senior National Championships. Leanne was honored to be selected to be a part of the junior national team that represented Canada and placed 5th in the World Championships in 1995. In 2000, Leanne earned All-Star status at the Senior Canadian Championships, where she batted .438 while playing third base and helping her team win the silver medal. In the North American Indigenous Games, Leanne's teams won the gold medal in 2002, 2006, 2007, and 2009, where she was also selected as the tournament MVP and received All-Star catcher honors. Leanne has been giving back to the sport that we all love by coaching North American Indigenous teams since 2006. It was in 2006 that the midget boys team that she coached won the gold medal. In 2007, she was sport manager for the Manitoba Aboriginal Sport and Recreation Council, and in this capacity, she was responsible for recruiting and developing players and coaches for the upcoming North American Indigenous Games. Please join me in welcoming Leanne Scott into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame in the athlete category.
Didn't even make it 2 steps and I almost started to cry. I've been told numerous times already this evening not to go into labor. I'm sweating right now. I don't know if that's a sign. So I'm just letting y'all know that I will be looking for a catcher. I hear, where is she out there? Renowned catcher Juanita Clayton. Where are you? Okay, stay close. Okay, thank you. All right, so good evening, everyone. I first have to apologize because for the length of my speech. When I first talked to Les, he had said, yes, you're gonna go up there and you're gonna say a few words, about 4 to 5 minutes. I heard 45 minutes, so I've written everything down, so I will be reading from this, okay, because I don't wanna miss out on anything. So hopefully it's still an open bar for some of you. Okay. Hormonal, I'm emotional, and there are 10 pieces of cheesecake right here. So somebody from Canadians could remove this distraction. Oh my goodness. Okay. It is an absolute honor to be standing up here today. With so many great athletes. I can't even look at you guys. And friends that stood up here before me, this feeling is so surreal. For me, I was part of a team, a group of ladies that I admired and loved, a team that became my family, a family that helped me become the player I was, and a big part of the person I am today. Together we were successful, and I contribute this induction to all the amazing people who inspired me, loved me, and supported me. So I'd like to take this time just to share a little bit of how my softball journey started and how I ended up here right now. So I was a kid from Tyndall Park playing C-ball, and I think Arnold Asham would remember some of those days. That's when I got to the B team though. It was my first year playing, and I was about 9 or 10 years old, and my parents had registered me for softball. I think it was in the hopes that I was going to let go of my dreams of becoming a member of the provincial baton team. Now, I had mad baton twirling skills, or so I thought. I never actually owned a baton, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't much different than the wooden spoon that my parents gave me to practice with. I don't remember too much about my first year playing softball, but I was placed on the C team. I played some third base, some pitcher, some catcher, and the following year was the same thing. Because it was my second year, I again was placed on the C team, or at least that's what was supposed to happen. But unlike my baton career, my parents saw some potential with softball and requested that I have a single tryout for the Tyndall Park B team, and I made it. That same year we were playing in provincials, I remember my mom talking to me between games. She said, you know, Leanne, she said, the Newshams are here to watch you play. Having no idea who they were at the time, I responded with, can we go get a Slurpee after the game? She stopped to explain to me who they were. She said, they're the coaches of a very good team called the Terminators, and they are looking for players to try out for their team. I was a competitor from the start, so the fear set in, and I instantly forgot about the Slurpee. I did let that fear get the best of me, and I never actually tried out that year that I was asked. After regretfully not trying out, I was convinced I would make it the following year, so I laced up my big girl cleats, dropped that wooden spoon in exchange for a bat, and headed to tryouts. What do you know, I made the team and I was a Terminator. I learned a very, very big life lesson that year. When someone tells you that you're good enough, believe them. When someone tells you that they are proud of you, believe them, and believe the people who believe in you. Don't let that fear stand in your way. That year I also learned that someone believed that I was a fast runner. If you've ever played ball with me, you know there is no such thing. Somebody must have really wanted me on that team, because during the tryout there was this running agility station where you had to pick up the ball, run and put it in the bucket, run it back to the other bucket, and this skill was a timed event. So somehow I pulled off a high score for that station, the fastest time. Where are you, Denbo? The fastest time, did you hear that? Okay, so I don't know why I had to address her because she gave me the nickname Scooter for some reason. I think it has something to do with my speed. So that's where this all started. I continued to play with the Smitty's organization for a number of years, and I'd say that we had a pretty successful run. I was also fortunate enough to play on a few other teams, some of which included the gold medal winners at North American Indigenous Games representing Manitoba, the Canadian Junior National Team, and 4-time national champions at Native Canadians. So this is the part where I have to cut out about 40 minutes of softball stories so that I can remain within the 4 to 5 minutes. I have a lot of people to thank for this success. Some of those people who are here with me today. First, to my parents. Thank you for remortgaging your house to support me throughout the softball years. Thank you for driving me to numerous practices, games, or tournaments near and far. Thank you to volunteering for team fundraising events and using your holiday time to travel and come watch me play. Your sacrifices are the reason I'm here today. And specifically to my dad for never buying me that baton and hitting me hundreds of fly balls, teaching me how to track a ball on the field without running with my glove in the air. You're right, it does look ridiculous. Thank you both for always being thank you both for always being my #1 fan, not just in softball, but in life. You continue to stand in my corner and have taught me so much about work ethic, respect, responsibility, commitment, and most of all, unconditional love. To my coaching staff, Mr. and Mrs. Newsham, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of such an incredible team. I think the biggest thanks is that you saw something in me that I did not see in myself. It's this baby. She's making me crazy. I do not and I will not forget that. Sometimes some of us need a little extra encouragement, a little extra reinforcement that we are right where we need to be. You did that for me. I cannot begin to thank you for the countless hours that you put in over the years, and a huge thanks for the nomination. You're the reason that I'm here. The experiences and the knowledge of the game that I was given so freely is praise to you both. I'm so very grateful that I now get to share these experiences and knowledge with my own children and my slow-pitch playing husband, of course. To my husband, thank you for being my biggest fan. Even though you never actually saw me play a game of softball in your life. You brag about me to so many people still to this day. You kept my softball spirit alive much longer than I played. And although I acted like I never wanted to play slow pitch, I enjoyed the first few years playing alongside you. We now get to share our love for the game with our boys and our soon to arrive little girl. How blessed are we? To my friends, my fellow teammates, my softball family. Softball is more than just a game, it's the greatest game. And the greatest thing about softball is the people that you meet. The people I've met, the friendships I have, the memories, there is nothing like it. It has brought me more joy than I could ever imagine. It gave me the best community of lifelong friends. Today, when I see all of you, we share the same laughter that we did 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So to you, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would have never made it this far without all of you, and you're the reason why I'm here. In closing, I would like to congratulate all of the inductees here this evening. This is a very special night. Enjoy your evening, be safe, and I would like to wish all of the beautiful mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. God bless.
That breathing's going to help you very soon. Just keep, when they say breathe, just start reciting your speech in the delivery room. Our final individual inductee tonight is in the builder category, Brett Turner. Brett started playing fast-pitch softball, in 1974 in the Southwest Fastball League with the team later known as the Boys of Ain Canadians, before he moved on to play in the Brandon Commercial League until 1988. Brett played 1 year in Winnipeg before returning to play in Brandon until he retired from playing competitively when he turned 50. Starting in 1989 with his brother Bob, Brett coached the newly formed Winnipeg Lightning women's fastpitch team. He has continued for almost 30 years of giving back to the game and to the athletes involved in the game of softball. He worked as an instructor for Manitoba softball, teaching pitching and skills clinics across the Westman region starting in 1992. From 2010 to 2017, Brett was the chairperson of the Ashley Neufeld Softball Complex in Brandon and continues to be involved in the maintenance of this facility. Please join me in welcoming Brett Turner into the builder category of the Softball Hall of Fame.
I'd like to start off today doing something that I was specifically ordered not to do. Today our family said goodbye and celebrated the life of Betty Ann, who I think a lot of you know was the mother of the Winnipeg Lightning organization. And if there was a category in this hall for softball wife or softball mother, I think she'd be in it. And also because she put up with my brother for all those years. Thank you very much to the Hall of Fame committee and the selection committee, and congratulations to all the other inductees. As you heard it said by lots of other inductees, what I remember from softball isn't the games or any kind of awards, but rather the people that softball brought into my life. And to them and many more, I've got some thanks to give. Thanks to all the great people I got to play with over the years, like Greg Gerba, who's with me tonight with his family. Him and I played together for many years and helped keep a couple of men's teams organized. Thanks to all the great people that I got to coach with, from my brother Bob, who dragged me into coaching and taught me more in a couple of years coaching together than I learned in 10 or 15 years of playing the game. And by the way, Charlie, when you talked about learning how to pitch by throwing to your friend and that friend had to chase the ball, well, I learned how to throw by playing catch with my brother Bob, but it was me that had to chase the wild throws. Lots of people that I coached with, like Ray Cochlan, Allison Dixon, Debbie Baker, Jason Moffat, Carmen Lyle, and my buddy Rich Chadlock, all who became lifelong friends, except perhaps Rich, if he doesn't improve his golf game. And thanks to all the great people that I got to coach, from the original Winnipeg Lightning players like Tracy, Claire Anderson, Lee Jubenville, and Mo Bray. Hi, Mo. To rec players like Jackie Sykes, and to Magic players like Laura Dixon and Jen and Courtney Shadlock and Kelly and Jody Baker. So many great ladies. Some of them gave me a few gray hairs along the way, but all working hard when asked and all a pleasure to coach. It's easy to understand that kids that are involved in sports go on to become our good citizens. Thanks to all the clinicians I got to work with, like Bev Neufeld, Jim Ney, Kara Miller, Steve Hayward. I remember one particular clinic traveling with Jim and Rich and Jen Shadlock to do a coaching clinic and a skills clinic. I had just had a hernia operation and was supposed to take it easy, but we had so much fun and laughed so hard I can't believe I didn't bust those stitches. The coaching part of the clinic started with, as normally happens, is you go around the room and get people to introduce themselves and say what they're going to be coaching. And it went around the room and finally came to a latecomer, and he responded by saying that he was just driving down the street and somebody waved him down and said, "Come on in, we're going to teach you how to coach softball." And then later on in the skills part of the clinic, when Jim was trying to teach overhand throwing and telling one of the drills for overhand throwing is to practice the mechanics with your wrong hand. So he told a bunch of grown men to do that. And then he told them to do it with their eyes closed. And I'm not sure whether the instructions got mixed up and the catchers closed their eyes, but there was a couple of balls bouncing off noggins, and we figured we were going to have to break up a brawl. But hopefully along the way we taught them something. Coaching and clinics provided the opportunity to see more than one player go from tossing their first pitches at 8 or 9 to playing for Team Toba at Canada Games. Very rewarding. And thanks to all the parents I often cursed under my breath, but without whom especially A-ball would not exist, because they work endless hours in the backyard with their kids and were as responsible as a coach for developing skills. Thanks to all the people on the various boards and events that I've worked on as an administrator. Dedicated people who often get little or no thanks. And in that group I include Don Klim, who I think is the unsung hero of Manitoba softball. And then a couple of things that I'm most proud of is the Ashley Neufeld softball complex and that committee. When we took on that project, I had no idea how big a task it would be and no concept that we could raise over $1.5 million to get it done. So thanks to an awesome group, Steve Hayward, who designed the facility and helped us deal with the city of Brandon, Chris Johnson, who browbeat all the local contractors, Kevin McLennan. Those of you who know him will understand when I say I often wanted to strangle him, but he got things done. And Nancy McPherson, who had absolutely no doubt we could raise that much money and whose confidence stopped me from jumping off the ledge more than once. To Pat Sellinger, who stepped up and looked after our finances, and painter extraordinaire, and Trudy Ney, who does anything she's ever asked to do. And finally, Bev Neufeld, whose terrible loss was a catalyst to make all that happen and who has done hundreds of different things to make it a reality. And thanks to the Softball Manitoba office, Steve Hayward, Tracy, Bobby Joe Guffey, and the many parents who make the Ponytail League work and provide an opportunity for young kids to play ball during the summer months. Steve and I had this vision and we couldn't figure out why ball season for most kids only goes through the months of May and June and why they weren't playing ball in the summer months like we did. And so that's why we started the Ponytail League, and we're proud of the fact that it's drawn lots of new kids to the sport, and I hope it continues to grow. And finally, thanks to my family. Along the way, I got to coach in one Canada Games with my brother Bob, and in another with my niece Tracy. I got to coach my granddaughters Sam and Kenzie for a while before they decided that dancing was their passion. And thanks to my kids, Buddy, Darlene, and Perry, for putting up with getting dragged to the ball fields when they were young. And most of all, the biggest thanks to my wife, Therese, for putting up with 40 years of my passion. Love you.
And now our final inductees and final team this evening, the Smitty Senior A Women's Fastpitch team. The Smitty Senior A softball team was formed by coaches Roy and Evelyn Holinsky for the 2002 season and was comprised of former Smitty senior, junior, and midget players. The team enjoyed great success, winning 5 consecutive gold medals at the Western Canadian Open Championships. The accomplishments of these teams can be attributed to many factors, but like most prosperous organizations, the leadership at the top can be a strong predictor of future success. This Smitty's team won the gold medal in 2002 at the Western Canada Open Championships in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, gold in 2003 in Portage la Prairie, gold in Richmond, BC in 2004, gold in 2005 in Nanaimo, BC, and of course gold in 2006 in Cardiff, Saskatchewan. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming into the team category the Smitty Senior A Women's Fastpitch team. Speaking on their behalf tonight is Mowbray, but let's introduce the team, starting with the bat girl, Jody Baker. Sherry Ellen.
Congratulations, Jody.
Nicole Anek. Deb Baker. Pam Barkowski. Pat Barkowski. Rose Blatz. Mowbray. Chantal Kapner. Christy Kapner. Donna Chief. Rhonda Denbo. Karen Dell. Kelsey Fredrickson. Jamie Jasek. Tanis Lavalley. Ruth Lone.
And some of you ball players, we like to sing songs sometimes, and we get maybe a little bit carried away. But on a note, I won't sing the whole song maybe till later in the evening, but this is a song that kind of encapsulates the team, you know, and pardon my singing voice, but we're off to the Wildwood Show with the elephants, kangaroos, no matter what the weather, we'll always be together, we're off to the Wildwood Show.
Well, that concludes the formal ceremonies. Congratulations again to all the inductees for your role in creating a wonderful softball history in Manitoba, and to the board of the Softball Hall of Fame for ensuring that the contributions of the athletes, the builders, the teams, and all those that contribute to the sport are not forgotten.